Mr. Sawhill?
Here.
Mr. Tiber?
Here.
Ms. Sullivan?
Here.
Ms. Emerton?
Here.
Mr. Winchester? Ms. Ream?
Here.
Mr. Condon?
Here.
Mr. Leonetti?
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, we don't have any minutes for approval for this meeting, so we'll move on to disclosures. Are there any disclosures for the case this evening? Commissioner Leonetti.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For case 2014-013, I worked with the petitioner's representative years ago. I have no current financial anything with them or with the petitioner currently. Thanks.
Can we get a motion to direct Commissioner Leonetti to participate? Can we get a second? Commissioner Tiber, would you?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to direct Commissioner Leonetti to participate. Based on his disclosure, I don't believe he has a conflict of interest. I intend to support my motion.
It has been moved by Commissioner Tiber and seconded by Commissioner Ream to direct Commissioner Leonetti to participate as he doesn't have a conflict. Are there any objections? Okay. You are then directed to participate. Okay, so we're moving on to the consent agenda. Can we get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to remove Resolution 2014002 from the consent agenda. Huh.
Okay. Does that
That do it?
Yeah.
We got technical difficulties.
Okay. So, okay. So I push here. Okay. Yes, Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to pull Resolution 2014002 from the consent agenda.
There has been a motion to pull Resolution 2014-002 from the consent agenda. It has been moved by Commissioner Condon and seconded by Commissioner Sullivan. That will be moved to the regular agenda. Is there, there's one more item remaining on the consent agenda. Commissioner Sullivan, would you please speak to your motion?
I would like to remove Resolution 2013-026 due to we don't have enough quorum.
Lack of quorum. So as both of those have been pulled, there are no remaining items left on the consent agenda. So we will be moving to the regular agenda. So before I begin the regular agenda, I would like to read our appeal rights. An individual may have appeal rights relating to any action the Urban Design Commission takes, except commission recommendations to the Assembly which are not appealable. Appeals must be filed with the clerk's office within 20 days after approval by the Urban Design Commission of the resolution, which is the commission's final decision. A fee for the appeal process is required at the time of filing. Okay. So to start off the consent agenda, we are going to start with case 2014-002, or resolution 2014-002. Commissioner Condon, would you care to speak to the reason you pulled it?
Yes. While reflecting on this issue, the petitioner made the statement that they didn't feel that one of the conditions pertaining to their case, namely the bicycle racks, was pertinent to their case, and it made me think that here we have a facility that has 6 full-time employees, and they can't provide bicycle parking spaces for 6 employees. They have a parking lot that will accommodate 508 cars. In the worst case scenario, they would need 101 parking spaces. On a day-to-day basis, they might need a maximum of 6 parking spaces. So my thinking is that we have an incompatible use here, and referring to the Anchorage Bowl Comprehensive Plan, policy number 7, avoid incompatible uses from adjoining one another. And if we go on to policy 24, we have the issue of town centers, and this property is almost the exact bullseye of the town center for that area. And town centers are defined as areas that are supposed to encourage public interaction, social interaction, things ranging from post offices to sports facilities. And what the petitioner has asked for is a facility which is essentially a storage place for dirt. And I don't think that this is conducive to the development of a town center as established in the comprehensive plan. And if you go to page 50 of the comprehensive plan, they have a map that shows that this is exactly where a town center should be located. So my feeling is that this is an inappropriate use for the site. The previous reading of this proposal stated that the town center and this use is somehow useful in the short term. And I can understand the argument that here we have a big box store that is uninhabited at this point. Let's put it to some use. That's a good idea. But the petitioner has also further stated they don't want to be responsible for bringing landscape requirements up to current code standards because they've got some kind of variance associated with it, it seems to me that the petitioner has no intention of either making this site into a more compatible use in the long term. I think they've used short-term expediency and jettisoned the long-term benefit that a property of that sort could have for that neighborhood. And furthermore, in the comprehensive plan on page 44, it is stated that the amount of land available in Anchorage for development is quite limited. And this petitioner has requested that basically 500 spaces, parking spaces, be dedicated in perpetuity to a storage place for dirt. I move that this agenda, I would like to make a motion that this agenda, that this be approved with my feeling that I will not vote for approval of this this case.
May we ask staff on this? We can't,
Yes.
it's already been approved. This is the resolution.
Through the chair, Mr. Condon, you're new to the commission, and the purpose of the resolution that's before you on that Alaska Materials Center is, the purpose of the resolution is that it's only to reflect what happened at the meeting. And there's no more to it than that. It's just a reflection of what was stated at the meeting, what the conditions were, and the opportunity to discuss the case and make other conditions it's gone by. It's been approved. It was approved at that meeting. So just to clarify.
Except that my understanding is when a case is removed from the consent agenda, it's now open for discussion again.
Not if it's a resolution. There's the only discussion, if you were to pull a resolution from the agenda, it would be to say there was some error in the resolution, either it was a typo, or there was a finding that wasn't captured by staff adequately, or the conditions were not captured adequately, that there's something wrong with the way the resolution was written. But it's not an opportunity to bring up the case again and to discuss the merits of it. That all that you're saying tonight would have been appropriate to say when the case was before the commission, but the case is no longer before the commission. Yeah.
Commissioner Leonetti, did you have something to add?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, Commissioner Condon, I had some similar thoughts, and just to kind of speak to this point real quickly and not belabor the issue. The cases that come before the commission and for the site plan reviews, it's a two-step. One is pre-approval, I believe it's called, or
Concept or preliminary.
Concept, or preliminary. The other one is final. What we have before us tonight on the other agenda is a concept approval. This case that was before us last week for the Geological Society was final. Petitioners have the ability to say, I want to do a final approval and go before the commission once instead of twice. And that's what that petitioner did. And honestly, I overlooked it as well. I thought it was going to come before us again. And when I saw the resolutions, I was like, oh, it's a final approval last week. Oh, okay, so, that's a bummer. So I respect the process and that the time to speak was then rather than now. It's in the past. If there's anything on the resolutions, we can adjust it if it's incorrectly portrayed, but we can't add anything. We can't bring it back before the commission. It is what it is, unfortunately. But it's a good point that we're going to have projects come before us that want to be expedited, that want to go through this process quickly, and that I respect that as well. And as a commission, we have to be able to eloquently explain what our concerns are, make it a condition, and ensure we have findings of facts. The biggest issue that I have with this resolution is we really don't have strong findings of facts. We have one. And if you look at the other one that was pulled, there's like 10. So kind of a lesson learned, I guess, is that, you know, when we have something before us, when we motion and when we second and then we're speaking to the motion and people support it or don't support it, that's where the findings of facts come from. And if you remember on this case for the Geological Society, nobody spoke. And I thought that was kind of unique. So unfortunately, it is what it is right now. Thanks.
Commissioner Sahel, you have your motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the resolution of approval for 2014-002.
It has been moved by Commissioner Sahel to approve Resolution 2014-002 and seconded by Commissioner Tybor. Would you care to speak to your motion, Commissioner Sahel?
Madam Chair, I intend to support the motion. I understand some of the concerns that were expressed, and I think maybe we missed an opportunity to have some additional conditions to improve what was going to happen in the previous case, but you know that boat's kind of sailed. We kind of missed our opportunities. But I do believe that the resolution provided accurately reflects the actions of the board that night and accurately reflects the conditions of approval, and I would encourage the commission to support it.
Thank you. Commissioner Tybor, did you want to speak to your second?
No, I concur with Commissioner Sahel.
Are there any objections? Motion is approved. Now we are moving on to case 2014-013. Do we have a staff report?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This case involves a screening along major highways for the Three Bears store in Birchwood. And I might add that this case is final. For highway screening or screening along major highway cases, they only come before the UDC once. The developer will retain all the existing natural vegetation within the 30-foot wide easement and will plant new vegetation to meet the requirements of municipal code. The highway screening site plan shows 51 existing birch trees ranging in size from 3 to 10 inches in diameter and 4 black spruce trees ranging in size from 3 to 8 inches in diameter. There is an abundance of existing shrubs and ground cover, which is not shown on the plans. The petitioner plans to plant 50 Colorado green spruce trees to fill in the gaps among the existing trees on the site within that 30-foot buffer. And there are 2 conditions. And I might add that this was Francis's case, but I'm filling in for him tonight because his wife had a baby over the weekend.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for staff? Okay. Would the petitioner like to come forward? And would you please state your name and spell it?
Sure. Good evening. My name is Laquita Chmielowski. It's first name's Laquita, last name Chmielowski. I'm with Enterprise Engineering, and I'm here tonight representing the petitioner. And with me is Kyle Scalise. He's with Criterion, and he's also part of the development group. So I don't have much to add to what staff said, other than I did want to point out that the site was or has been cleared, and the contractor made big efforts to retain the existing vegetation and actually retained a larger area to make sure that we didn't disturb the 30 feet. And as staff has noted, we are infilling with evergreen trees to meet the code requirement. We don't have any issues with the conditions and request approval this evening.
Thank you. Commissioner Leonetti.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just realized I have another disclosure. Is this the time to do that, or what is the process for that?
Now, yeah.
Okay. The firm that I work for is working with Criterion on numerous projects, not this one in particular, but I didn't realize that Criterion was the contractor. I would have mentioned it earlier. So I believe the board should consider that as a conflict of interest.
Do you have any financial interest
In this particular project, no. In other projects, yes.
with Criterion? So not necessarily tied to this one, but Criterion in general, you have other...
Correct.
Okay. The motion to direct. Can we get a motion to direct Commissioner Leonetti to participate?
I would make a motion to request Commissioner Leonetti participate in this conversation.
And can we get a second? It has been moved by Commissioner Condon to direct Commissioner Leonetti to participate and seconded by Commissioner Tybor. Commissioner Condon, would you care to speak to your motion?
I don't believe that he has a conflict of interest that is going to seriously impact this case.
Are there any objections? Commissioner Leonetti, you've been directed to participate.
Thank you.
All right. The board have any questions for the petitioner?
Yes, Madam Chair, I have a question regarding statement made from Paul Hatcher, engineering technician. The Anchorage Water and Waste Utility states that water and sanitary sewer are not available to this parcel. Has that been resolved?
Yes, it has. We have an on-site well and septic system that will be permitted through DEC.
And the other question I have is, there is a road to some cell towers that is considered illegal access. Has that been resolved?
Yeah, we are working with DOT, and that's actually one of the conditions as part of our large retail review, to continue to work with them to block access and remove that roadway.
Could you point out on your map where that roadway is?
It's actually, it's out, oh, you can see here. It's actually outside the property boundary along the highway. There's a gravel roadway, but the cell towers still maintain access. We're putting in a fire lane along the north property line that leads back. There's one cell tower here, and the other one's down here.
Can you make sure you speak into the mic?
Yeah,
Sorry, thank you. Yeah, you
so-
can move the
so the
thing over if that helps, but
So there's a cell tower to the east, and then there's a cell tower just to the south of the building. We have a fire access lane that accesses the back of the building, which allows access to the cell tower to the south of the building, and then it continues on to the adjacent property and ties into the existing access to that cell tower.
Thank you.
any additional questions? Commissioner Leonetti?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Jamalowski, you said that there was you're going through a large retail.
Correct.
What are the other public processes that you're going through? I know it's a plat, so.
Yeah, so the plat's been recorded, and then we had the large retail review, which was last Monday, and we were approved at that hearing, and then we have this highway screening, and then, of course, a land use permit, which isn't a public hearing.
And one more question. Was the parking lot landscaping looked at during the large retail review?
Yes, it was.
Okay, thank you.
we have any additional questions? Commissioner Leonetti.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a note on the submittal form, I noticed that Enterprise is listed as the landscape architect, and I presume you have a landscape architect on board or somebody has designed.
We have been consulting a landscape architect for this project, yes.
They're not here?
No.
Number 6, landscape note number 6, talks to trees and shrubs on this plan may be substituted with approved trees and shrubs as outlined in the MOA handout number 38. That note basically says that what we approve here can be wholesale changed. What are your thoughts on that note going away?
I don't have an objection to that going away.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any additional questions?
Yeah, you made the statement that your contractor has already moved in and cleared areas.
Correct.
In the analysis here, it says the developer will retain all of the existing natural vegetation within a 30-foot easement. Has that been adhered to?
Yes, it has. Yeah, and actually, when they initially went in and cleared, they retained 40 feet of the existing vegetation along the highway, and then we also retained existing vegetation along Birchwood Loop.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Sharon, I'm sorry. Okay, actually, can you come back real quick? Sorry. Sharon.
Look, wait, I just had a question. That 40-foot, is that going to stay for the duration of the project?
No, I mean, a portion of that will be disturbed as we move forward. It's just when we did the initial clearing, it was early on in the project, so we did that as a precaution.
Okay, but it's likely to be removed, or?
A portion of that, of the extra 10 feet is likely to be removed to accommodate the final site layout.
Okay, any idea how much of that 10 feet might be left?
I would say probably only a foot or two when we're done with final grading and site layout.
So there will be grading excavation within that?
Within the additional
10
10 feet, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I just have concerns about the existing trees and the roots that are going to be sliced off at that juncture, at that point, and likely will affect the trees and they'll decline and die over the next few years.
Yeah, I think, Kyle might be able to speak to this better, but I know this has been a big concern, and so we've, tried to take precautions, keeping the area flagged, making sure everybody's aware of that they can't disturb this area. Certainly if trees decline, the landscape is under a certain period of warranty, so, if we had to replace a tree because it dies, that would occur to make sure we meet the code requirement.
Yeah, but it's unlikely that, anyone's going to go out there and look at the trees and, this is an opportunity to do it because once we're gone from this room and we've kind of lost the opportunity to do anything about it because it's unlikely that anyone is going to go out there and report that, some trees are dying and that they need to be replaced. That's my only concern with that.
Understood.
Commissioner Leonetti.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Chmielowski, you mentioned that you're going through other review processes that would have evaluated the landscaping that is shown on this drawing. So you're asking this commission to approve the highway screening on the southeast border of the project.
Correct.
What does the overall plant schedule, plant count reflect?
I didn't bring the specifics with me, but like I said, we did retain as much of the existing vegetation as we could along Birchwood Loop, and then we are implanting with additional vegetation. And then we are planting visual enhancement landscaping along a portion of the north side, and then we have buffer landscaping where we're adjacent, well, across the right-of-way from residential properties, and then we have visual enhancement landscaping along the east border. But I don't have the specific counts. I didn't bring that with me tonight.
Are you asking us for approval on the north and the east and the south? And the
No,
west?
just for the highway screening.
Okay, so the plant schedule that we have in front of us,
That is for the highway screening only.
those quantities only pertain to this highway screening easement that is shown here.
Correct.
Okay. It looks like there's, if I may, there's no shrubs in there, but there's shrubs listed in the.
So there are existing trees, and then which we're showing, and then we have the new trees. There is existing shrubs, but we didn't survey those and show them on the plan. They're shown in the photos that were on the second page of the drawings.
Yeah, I understand that, but if just one more quick.
Sure.
So like in the easement, there's little bubbles that show that there's existing vegetation on the screening easement side. On the west side, the arterial landscape side, it appears that there's shrub symbols which reflect what is in the plant schedule. And so it appears that there's no shrubs planned for the screening on the screening landscape easement because there's existing shrubs there.
Correct.
However, you just explained that what is listed in this plant schedule is reflected only on the screening easement.
Yeah, if you look at SK 1.0, that is the plant schedule for the highway screening.
Okay, so what you're asking for is for approval on basically SK 1.0.
And 2.0.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Do we have any additional questions? Okay. Oh, wait, hold on. Sorry, Nick. Commissioner Ream.
Thank you. Just looking at this, I know you're getting grilled tonight. Just looking at this screening, I noticed that several of these existing birch trees are located what appears to be, and I don't have a scale, within 6 feet or so of that 30-foot line. I just want to clarify or verify that existing birch trees are pretty sensitive to root cut.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've been taught as a civil engineer, not a landscaper, is that for every inch of diameter that you have on a tree, birch tree, you should count a foot of root zone protection. So for 4-inch trees, you need a 4-foot radius. 6, that sort of thing. For these trees that are located at the back of the screening easement that are existing, I imagine they're going to go away.
So I would say when you're looking at the site, when you go towards the east where the tower is located, that area, that tower is actually about almost 9 feet higher than the finished floor of the site. So we are grading around and retaining the elevation there. So those trees certainly would not be disturbed. As you go towards the west where we have the parking area, where those trees are a little bit closer, I mean, there is a chance that we could get into the root system.
Right, and that I just noticed there were about half a dozen trees that could possibly be removed and should be replaced by the evergreens, if they are.
Yeah, we don't have an issue with that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Any additional questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now the matter rests with the commission. Can we get a positive motion for the case? Commissioner Leonetti, did you want to speak?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to move to approve case number 2014-013C, Three Bears Highway Screening Landscape Review for large retail development.
Commissioner Leonetti, will you push your motion to approve button, not the request to speak?
Oh, my bad. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now do I talk? All that again?
Please.
I move to approve case number 2014-013, C3 Bears Highway Screening Landscape Review for large retail development for approval with the following conditions. Remove note number 6 on standby. Sheet L 1.0. As the first condition, and the second condition is to state for each tree that is removed, for each tree rather that's shown on the plans as birch trees to remain, for each tree that is removed, it will be replaced with one spruce tree.
It has been,
Eh.
or so you still,
So if I had one more, in the areas that are not shown to have understory vegetation, plant understory vegetation at a rate of 3, well, just plant understory vegetation. That's it. I was going to ask. It's 3 per tree, but there's a handout that I don't know the name of, the reference that I was going to try to get.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that again, Ed?
There's a standard that the municipality uses for 3 shrubs per tree, and it's a quote-unquote handout, and I
Right.
don't know the reference to that handout.
It's actual fact, we don't use that handout anymore, but that condition, but that policy still exists. That handout is ancient, and the Urban Design Commission, previous to this one, long ago, asked the building safety to remove it, and they've removed it years ago because it's so outdated.
Okay.
But we still use the 3 shrubs per tree.
Okay, so then in the areas where there is no understory existing vegetation, for each spruce tree that is installed, install 3 shrubs. And that's it.
we have a motion for approval for case, do I restate it before we?
Madam Chair, just for clarity purposes, on Mr. Leonetti's motion number 4, replace 1 spruce tree for every birch tree that's taken out. Could you all, come up with an approximate number of replacement spruce? I mean, count along there and how many birch trees you think are going to have to be removed, and maybe we give a definitive number?
So, yeah, I certainly can. It looks like there's 51 existing birch trees on the length of the highway screening. It appears that. And it appears that the majority of the vegetation is 2/3 and or less. let's pick a number and then we can discuss it. Let's say half, 25.
Okay.
Up maximum of 25. And we can discuss that if there's questions.
Okay, so we have,
Still have a second.
okay. So we have a motion for approval for case 2014-013 with a couple conditions. For condition number 1 is removal of note number 6 on L1.0. The second condition is to have a requirement for every one birch that is removed, one spruce needs to be planted with a maximum of 25 trees. And condition number 3 is that for every spruce tree that has been installed, we will 3 shrubs of understory. If there is no existing understory vegetation, 3 shrubs will need to be installed with each tree, which would then have a maximum of obviously 75 shrubs. So, that all being said, Commissioner Leonetti, would you like to speak to your motion?
Sure.
Okay.
I support the motion, and I think that what the petitioner has here in front of us is a good execution of what a good mesh of keeping the existing vegetation and infilling with what's required by the code. I think that it would have been disastrous to eliminate all of the trees and replace with 2 rows of spruce trees. So I commend the petitioner on infilling, and that concept of doing that is, I think, a good idea. I will probably think of more things as soon as it's seconded and spoken
We
to.
do have a second by
Oh, we do.
Commissioner
Okay.
Sahel. Yep.
Sorry.
Yep. Commissioner Sharon Ferguson.
Thank you. I'm still looking for a little bit more specificity just to guide the petitioner on number 4. We're still a situation where if they're going to remove a birch tree, then they need to replace it up to 25, but we're not going to know how many birch trees they remove because none of us are going to be hanging around the site. So maybe we reword it to say, add an additional 25 spruce trees. And then it's a little bit clearer on what we're asking them to do.
Commissioner Tybor, did you have something you wanted to add?
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, I was going to basically state what Sharon had stated, that maybe we just ask for the planning schedule to be updated to reflect 75 trees rather than 50.
Okay. Commissioner Sahel?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to also clarify, was staff conditions 1 and 2 part of your motion?
Oh, sorry, yes.
Okay, so we'll.
So I need to
clarify
restate that.
for the record.
Yeah.
And I understand your concern, over the birch trees that may not survive once we finish clearing and grubbing that section. And what I would like to suggest is that we require the petitioner to have a landscape architect inspect the area after grubbing, make determinations about which trees won't survive, provide that report to staff, and then amend their landscaping plan to reflect that inspection and the modifications. That way, we can ensure there'll be follow-up, and it's in a reasonable process, and we can have the petitioner do the right thing and get that done. So if I could take a shot at another condition or a substitute condition for number 4, I'm not sure. I guess I would move. Oh, here we go. We'll have a motion. Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to amend condition number 4. Was it 4 that dealt with the birch trees?
Yes.
to provide a report by a landscape architect after grubbing of the site near the highway screening easement to determine if any of the existing birch trees will not survive, and provide an amended landscape plan to planning staff.
Madam Chair, can I say one more thing? The grubbing is the grubbing, but after that, they're still going to do excavation or filling or something. So even at that point, we won't know the condition of those birch trees until after excavation or, after all the site grading is done.
Yeah, we could amend it to read after grubbing and filling. After grubbing, excavation, and filling, to be clear. If I could get a second to my
If we
motion.
can get a second.
Or not.
No second. Okay. So we have a motion to amend on the floor from Commissioner Sawhill that edits the requirement number 4 to have a landscape architect report to the site to determine the survivability of the trees after the grubbing and the filling, and then creating a plan from there with a new planting plan, essentially, that would be required. Commissioner Sawhill, would you like to speak to that?
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chairman. I just think it'll provide an opportunity to get boots on the ground with an expert to make that determination, instead of us guessing about how many trees that might be. It just seems a little clearer. Thank you. I
Commissioner Ream,
encourage
would you
your
like
support.
to speak to your second?
I concur, and I know it can be pretty expensive to increase the cost of trees to 25. I think this is a better idea.
Is there any additional discussion? Any objection to this amendment? Sorry, Commissioner Leonetti, did you want to speak?
Yes, thank you.
Sorry.
So I agree. I concur 90% of with what's said to here, and I'm not exactly sure the right process to add or to do what, so I will just discuss. So I appreciate people getting on the ground, looking at the trees, replacing the trees if they need to be replaced, and reporting back. What I think is missing is, what if they don't report back, and what if they don't replace them? So it seems as though that maybe a letter to the commission would be appropriate, or something that would, some penalty of not coming back. And that's where, do we need to vote on the friendly, or can you amend? I don't think you can amend a friendly, can you?
There's
could
no
just-
such thing as friendly.
Friendly amendment.
We need to vote the amendment up or down, and
I was referring to the friendly
yeah,
amendment.
you can move to
Condition.
amend the amendment is the other process to take. I guess in response to your discussion of the amendment, I believe they'll have to have the highway screening easement inspected by zoning prior to a CO. So the
Okay.
revised landscape plan will become part of the building permit package. Even though there's not a
Land
permit
use.
out there per se, it's a land use permit, the zoning issues still get an inspection. So the zoning will provide the quality control.
Okay, so that's
we're
the
looking
back
for.
deck then.
Yeah.
If something changes, it gets submitted to land
To
use.
Sharon will make sure it's in the
Okay.
building permit package, and then zoning will make sure it happens.
Okay, so then I support the friendly condition.
Commissioner Tiber?
No, I felt comfortable with it as a condition of approval. I felt like, just like any other condition of approval, we'd have some sort of assurance that it would be complied with. I would intend to support the motion. I think there's going to be an expense for the petitioner either way, whether we give an arbitrary, count or whether they get boots on the ground. And I think the boots on the ground will be a more precise solution. So.
Any additional discussion? Do you have any objection? The amendment, yeah, the amendment. just for the amendment. Okay, that amendment has passed. So we're back to the main motion. Should I reread it? Probably. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and restate the motion so we all know where we're at. So this is a motion for approval for case 20141-3. Condition 1 is for staff conditions 1 and 2. Condition number 2 is removing the line number 6 on L1.0. Condition number 3, which I've changed, was the one that Commissioner Sawhill just passed. For trees will be determined by the landscape architect. And then condition number 4 is that we will install 3 shrubs for each of those trees. So that's where we're at. Do we have any additional discussion? Commissioner Leonetti.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That last one actually was a little bit inaccurate. What I was attempting to get to was the trees that are installed in the areas where there's no trees, which is basically the eastern half or third of the parcel. Those trees will require 3 shrubs. So if there's 15 of them there, then there's 45 shrubs. So I don't know that you're haven't.
So I misunderstood that. I thought it was for every new tree they planted. It's not. It's for any location they're planting a tree without understory vegetation.
Correct.
Okay.
So if there's understory vegetation there, then I think it meets the intent of the code. If there's no understory, we need to plant some shrubs.
Got it. Sorry, I misunderstood you on
That's
that.
okay. So do we get to see these motions on here at one time? No.
No.
Okay.
Commissioner Sawhill?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I intend to support the motion. I think the submittal meets the requirements of the code for highway screening easement. I appreciate the pictures that were submitted by the applicant. That really helped me to see the site and visualize the site and to see the existing vegetation that they did retain and where the infilling is needed. I think the infilling that they're proposing is appropriate to the site and will accomplish the goals of the highway screening easement, and I will be supporting the motion.
Thank you. Do we have any additional discussion? So now, or is there any objection to the motion? No? Okay. The case passes. So that closes our regular agenda for this evening.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
I think we skipped over one of the items that was pulled from this consent agenda and never passed it.
We have to push it.
Okay.
We didn't have enough for quorum.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I don't think we have any appearance requests or any reports from chair or secretary. Any additional commissioner comments this evening? Okay. This meeting is adjourned. Oh, can I get a motion to adjourn? I can't just adjourn it. We have been motioned and seconded to adjourn. Now we're adjourned.